When I'm bored, I like to shop around on Amazon and see what random crap I can find. And I came across this, the Asiahorse Matrix 360. EK Waterblock's quantum torque fittings for PC liquid cooling include static extenders, rotary adapters, offsets, double rotary fittings, and micro series for all small form factor systems. With a wide variety of fittings, your loop building experience becomes much easier, quicker, and more streamlined. And all torque fittings come in 4 major finish options that will blend in with any setup. The standard nickel-plated versions, the special matte black, satin titanium, and fittings plated with real gold. With replaceable locking rings available in multiple colors and aesthetic color rings only available from EK, the customization options are almost endless. To see the full lineup of EK Waterblock torque fittings, follow the link in the description below. Good news, it's for PC. Before we get into that, let's talk about some of the stuff here. Size, 360 by 120 by 25 mil. Okay, so that's 3 120 millimeter fans, good. RPM, 800 to 1800 plus or minus 10%. Pretty normal, except a little bit low in the RPM, but still fairly normal. Airflow, 66.5 CFM plus or minus 10%. I'm assuming that's the total airflow of all 3 combined. I have a hard time imagining that one of these fans can move 66.5 CFM at 1800 RPM. So I'm assuming these are combined figures. Air pressure, 4 millimeters of H2O. 10%. I think they mean plus or minus, but they forgot to put the plus or minus on there. LED number, 56 pieces of LEDs. Hope they're not in pieces. That would really suck if they're in pieces. Fluid concept design. Does that mean it's a fluid dynamic bearing? First choice for your 360 radiators. That's a feature. Number 3, most efficient air cooling solution for PC. So which is it? Is it for radiators or is it for air cooling? 4, super pressure airflow. Super pressure airflow. 5, painless installation with 1 cable only. I bet you there's more than one because it's RGB and fan, so it has to be more than 1 cable. Addressable RGB with Aura 5-volt motherboard connectors. So I'm assuming this means it will work with Aura, but that's because it just uses the standard 3-pin ARGB header. So it has to be Aura or Mystic Light or whatever other bullshit RGB stuff people call their things on motherboards. Purport to connect with Sparks controller. What the hell is... Did I just have a stroke? Purport to connect. I feel like I'm actually turning red because I didn't read this ahead of time, so you're seeing my legitimate response to the box.
Legitimate stroke.
Please reset the motherboard ARGB mode to 40 LED light when connect with AuraSync mode. How much did I pay for this? I forget, because I order these things and then they show up and I forget what they cost me. So the idea with this here is like, look, I know people are sick of like the big 5, right? You know, you got your Corsair, and you got your Lian Li, and you got your Be Quiet, and you got whatever other brands are out there. This was just an example of, I thought it was neat, honestly. And so I always buy this stuff that I think is neat and different and maybe might interest some people. We have actually found some pretty decent stuff on Amazon that have no name with them. So it's available in a 240 and a 360, which I would hope it's available in a single fan as well. Otherwise, you probably aren't gonna be able to have them match. So we have mode speed and light. And then as you can see, the idea here is it's just a single frame that houses 3 fans. That is a really busy design. Is it all gonna light up? So already it's a lie, because that is 2 cables. Painless installation with 1 cable only. Nope, there's 2. Because here's the thing, if you have ARGB on 3 fans, that means you would have realistically about 6 cables typically, unless they're daisy chainable. Oh yeah, I was looking, how much did I pay for this? $44. Wow, okay. So what is that per fan? Because I'm not gonna math really easily today. That's $14.60 a fan. It's actually not that cheap, realistically. But here's what you get with it. So here is our screws, which is funny because they only give you mounting spot, 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top, so none in the middle. Which I like to still mount down the middle. I don't have to put all 8 of them in the middle. I like to at least put 4 in the middle to hold it flat. In terms of weight, it's not super light, but it doesn't scream like quality. But you also get your standard 4-pin PWM cable right there, and then a standard 3-pin ARGB with a daisy chain on, or a pigtail on there for daisy chaining, so it can add in line with other devices, well, parallel with other devices. That way you don't have to use up a whole header for it. But it also has its own controller. So if you're like super budget here and you're like, I'm not hooking this up to my motherboard, or my motherboard doesn't even have RGB, you can still get some lighting effects because it's got this SATA powered inline controller That also has this. Well, no, it looks like I can still daisy chain a device to it. So this can control other devices for lighting, and I think I should test that, to be honest. So we're checking fan power first. Actually moves a pretty decent amount of air, especially when it's open air like this. You know, it's nothing in front of it. I feel like I should get a radiator though, just so I can check airflow capabilities with the rad. But you know what? It's one cable there, so you notice there's no lighting. I haven't plugged that in yet. So when it comes down to mounting down in your case, there are rubber on both sides, so this should stop any sort of vibrations. I didn't feel it vibrating though, to be honest. It felt pretty solid. Ooh, it does all light up like a freaking, dude, Dwayne Johnson would be proud. It'd be like a big old chest tribal tattoo with a, dude. So the cool thing about all three of them being wired in like that is now you get some effects across them rather than, if you had 3 fans that were daisy chained, each segment would be doing the same thing as the one next to it. So now you can see it like has this neat marquee kind of a deal going on here. Okay, that's a stacking effect. Does the light, yep, pushing light changes the color. The white actually looks pretty white. Sometimes white either can have a slight green or a slight blue look to it, depending on the balance of the LEDs. It looks pretty white, so that's good. Oh my gosh, it's going even faster. The only problem with like these types of controllers is if you pass the mode you want, you gotta go through all of them again to get it. All right, enough of that. I wanna throw I'm gonna get my flow meter, just have it check a JFM, which is a JFlow meter, or JFlow metric, whatever we'll call it. It's not tuned. It's just gonna give me a before and after, and I'm gonna see what the open air airflow is like. I'm gonna put a rad in front of it, and then we'll see what the airflow pressure is like coming through the rad, like how much it's dropped. Because I feel like this would be the perfect supplement to like water cooling, just on a rad and it's done. I feel like it's a little busy though on the design, but hey, that's personal preference there. All right, so my anemometer, thermometer is just chilling right here. This number, and you're gonna hear tapping and stuff in the alley. They're like building a house out there, I don't know, something like that. So this number is pretty arbitrary, okay? This is just 69.03, 69.56 JFM, okay? That's just, with it sitting right there, that's what it's doing. So what we're looking for now is, I'm curious, and this should be full speed because it's got no PWM, it's just plugged in a 12 volt through this adapter right here, so it should be going full speed, which is 1800 RPM. I now wanna see what happens if we stick a radiator on there. All right, so same thing. This is now just chilling on the backside of the radiator. Yes, I'm aware that this is probably not as scientific as we would be hoping for. That just shows you right there how much airflow a radiator restricts. So we went from 70 down to 18.51. This is it's like a 35 mil rad. It's a little bit thicker. Actually, the core is still a 30 mil rad. It's an old Swiftech. But look at that, dropped down to 18, 19 range. So although this is a different rad, it is roughly the same FPI, which is fins per inch. So that would give us a very similar result, or density to the fins. So FPI, how many fins per inch? The lower the number, like 8 to 10, that means there's a bigger gap between the fins. The higher the FPI means more fins, more surface area for the radiator, better cooling, but more restriction because there's more fins that the air has to go through. So with that said, going from a 30 mil to a 45, 22, 23, that's actually not bad. Like, I can feel the air come through the other side of this rad pretty nicely. It means I would have no problems using this fan on this fans, because of the fact that we are getting plenty of airflow through it. I'm gonna throw this on a thick boy now, which is the 60 mil thick rad, which normally you would wanna do like a push-pull type of setup on just because of the resistance. The resistance! Okay, so there is a big asterisk next to this test. It is a 480 rad, and this is a 360 radiator, fans. So some of the air might escape right here, but that's why I'm testing all the way down on this end. It shouldn't affect, like if I was testing this fan, that would be a different story. Some of the air would leak out the side right here. But because I'm testing all the way down here on this end, I don't think it's gonna be a problem. 13, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
not a lot of pressure drop with that extra thickness there. And I can still feel a lot of air coming through. So maybe my whole concept over the years of like, must go push pull on thick rad maybe it doesn't hold water these days. Well, ironically, it's water cooling, right? Surprisingly adequate when it comes to pushing air through a thick radiator like this. Well, plus and minus time. It is very RGB, which, you know, if you're going for all the RGB, man, you got tribal tattoos worth of RGB going on here. You got fan blade lighting, you got side lighting, you got face lighting, you got backside lighting. It's just, everything is well, there's 56 LEDs in there, okay? 56 pieces of LED. Only comes in 240 and 360 though. I feel like you need a single fan. That way, if you were gonna put these in your system, wouldn't you want it to match like any other fans in your system? So I think they need a 240 and a 360, but they only have a 240 and a 360, and then for whatever reason, they have the 360 in pink, but not the 240. Now, how long it will last, I don't know. It's a fluid dynamic bearing. Fluid bearings tend to be susceptible to dust buildup in the hub. As it gets dirtier, it gets a little bit more gummy, then it starts to break down. You start to hear rattling going on in there. You can technically clean a fluid bearing fan. I tend not to because it's almost impossible to get the fan blade off without breaking it, but it is possible. For $16 essentially per fan, actually, does that breakdown hold up? Because if the 240 doesn't also break down to about $14.66 per fan, then the 240 is definitely a terrible deal. So the black 240 is $34. So the 240 is effectively more expensive per fan blade than the 360. Yeah, it's $17 a fan. So it went from $14.66 to $17 per fan. I guess it's still not terrible. It's just, it's not that much cheaper than just say going with like a regular old whatever brand RGB fan. The difference is you don't have to wire them together. You have one fan header, one RGB header per grouping of fans, which is not a bad thing. I think this should be like $39 for the 360 and like $27.99 for the 240 version. That's what I think the pricing should be. The unfortunate side of this is if you wait, if this is interesting to you and you're like, I want that, you should go buy it now. Because what always happens is these damn Amazon brands feel like, hey, this fat famous YouTuber guy said these are good, let's up the price. It happens every time. Sorry. Go buy it now, don't wait. Buy it before they see the video. And no, that's not a sponsored message. I paid my own money for this. They owe me $44. Plus royalties.